Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock, let's go over the market and figure out what happened today on a pretty respectable day for Tesla and what it can mean moving forward into the remainder of the week. One day left, of course, and of course into a pretty substantial week after that being, of course, next week. So with that being said and done, let's jump into it. Tesla closing the day up actually about 1.7%, closing at pretty much $178 per share, which compared to the market is a nice respectable outperformance. But what does this mean? Has Tesla finally picked a direction? Is it finally going to rally maybe in this case? Or is this a trap? Or maybe no direction has been picked yet? Let's discuss all that and I'll give you my personal thoughts. So jumping into it, also, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but obviously I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. My membership session is live, by the way. If you're interested, I have a link down below. For just $3 a month, you get access to all my intraday thoughts, posts, updates, technical analysis, options flow, everything, all that good stuff on Tesla every single day. So this is the kind of information, for instance, like in these videos that you'd like, but you want to get it pretty much as it's happening right then and there so you can maybe apply it to your trades if you find it useful. Well, that's where you will find that for just $3 a month. But let's just jump into it. So Tesla, pretty interesting day, right? So obviously it outperformed the market today very respectably. But what does this really mean? So part of this craze and the reason Tesla could be up today is because sometimes when when the meme market moves, Tesla tends to kind of move with it. Because I mean, in a certain instance, in a certain way, the stock is kind of a meme stock. Not obviously as much as like a GameStop or like AMC or anything like that, but it definitely has some meme stock elements and vibes to it. Sometimes it is what it is, right? And GameStop obviously up a solid almost 50%, so that could be kind of that sort of sentiment, right? Don't forget that. Keep that in mind. But let's talk about the actual technical analysis. So let's talk about this green trend line. So this green trend line obviously has been in place since last year of December. Well, it's been rejecting us obviously pretty recently, right? Ever since this massive rally. And today we pretty much had what looked to be potentially a false breakout on both sides, right? Today we once again dipped below, or pretty much, just ever so slightly below 173, bought that back up, bounced almost exactly off oversold territories, right? You can see here. And now we pretty much came right into from oversold to overbought territories. And now you can see we are starting to find some rejection. I'm telling you, man, this thing is pretty crazy, right? It is what it is. So keep that in mind. We are in overbought territory. Well, not anymore, but we're close to it. And we were in it. Now we're getting rejected. And also tomorrow is the jobs data, which I'll talk about very soon in terms of how it may affect Tesla stock moving forward into tomorrow. So we had a false breakout on both sides, right? Bullish, a bull trap and a bear trap essentially today, if you want to put it like that. But we are very close to breaking out of this green trend line. We're pretty much closing right at the trend line, honestly, which is why tomorrow the jobs data could be pretty important. And the reason I say that is because, well, if the jobs data does come in, whatever, it doesn't matter really what it comes in, but if the market and specifically Tesla does react to it negatively, and we do get, like, for instance, maybe a gap down, I don't know what time, I'm not sure if the jobs data is coming out pre-market. Usually they come out in pre-market. I'm assuming it will this time again. Usually it's like 8:30 Eastern, I believe, but assuming it does, and assuming we gap down tomorrow morning and we open up, let's say, I don't know, like 177 or something like that, whatever, right? And we do get the gap down, then this really confirms that the fact that, we haven't really truly breaking out just yet, because we didn't really break out today. We had a very good shot at doing it, but we didn't truly break out. And that still kind of puts us back into this consolidation range, which we can definitely get a nice little sell-off back down to about 175. The reason I say 175 is Tesla max pain is because that's the max pain for Tesla stock, right? There is something called max pain for, options, right? Which essentially, it's kind of what it sounds like, max pain, right? That's where, most options will be, or most people that are buying options will be in, well, maximum amount of pain, which you can see. I don't know why it's showing it like this. Let me go ahead and refresh maybe. Max pain is 526. I feel like that's not accurate unless it's just not giving me Tesla properly. Let me see. I don't know, whatever. I don't know why it's not working. But the max pain for Tesla is 175. So it's not always, doesn't always happen, but it's sometimes, fairly often the market makers, they like to kind of dance it around that rough max pain area. So that happens to be 175. And if you go back to the 1 hour chart, that also happens to be, if the stock were to gap down tomorrow and kind of revert back to the mean, right, it would also be with this white line pretty much around 175 to 176, which will also be coming down to retest this volume profile, retest this kind of general area right here that was acting as a resistance, now acting as a hopeful support. So we kind of come back down here, retest this general area that again was acting as a resistance back here, and then maybe bounce from there. That's a very real possibility. So we'll see if that actually ends up being the case. But nonetheless, if we do get that gap down, I would expect about 175 to 176 tomorrow, something around that one, give or take $1 or so range. And we'll see how that plays out too. But ultimately, we haven't broken out just yet. Now, the question, of course, is, well, let's say we do break out. Let's say maybe tomorrow, or I don't know, maybe Monday or whatever. Let's say we do close above this green trend line. Let's say we do finally get that breakout. What does that really mean? Well, keep in mind, there's at least in my eyes, there's an important distinction here. When you break out of this trend line, it doesn't always have to just mean that, oh, it broke out and closed above it. Great, time to just rock it. It could, it absolutely could, but it doesn't have to mean that. And the reason I say it doesn't have to mean that is because, well, breaking out of this trend line, all that really means is the fact that we have stopped the bleeding. The bleeding has officially stopped. That doesn't mean we have to just rock it. It just means that, well, we're no longer pretty much in that steep downtrend. We have officially, the buyers have officially started to outweigh the sellers, essentially, you know what I mean? And that equilibrium is sort of changing. And now that the sellers have started to outweigh the buyers, then we can, maybe go right away and start rallying up and rocketing up. Or, maybe it just means the fact that, we're no longer really just trending downwards anymore. Maybe we could still go sideways. That's the worst part, believe it or not. We could still go sideways before we actually get that move up truly. So I just want to make that very clear, that kind of distinction very clear. It's really important to understand that. It's not always the case, but it's still obviously a very bullish sign. But this is where the horizontal, and in what in my opinion is more important, resistances and levels come into play. Horizontal resistances and levels are the most important in my opinion, because that's what really shows where the pressures are for buying and selling pressure. And in this case, you can see if we come over here and we look at the horizontal pressure, right? I actually have this drawn pretty coincidentally well, this massive rectangle box, because this white line is right in the center of it. It actually works out pretty well, this one right here, because it happens to line up with pretty much this kind of 179, 180, 181, this general level pretty well. You can see every time we've come up to this general level, obviously some exceptions, but constant rejection pretty much. We'll say support here. We had some rejection here. We had, obviously a massive candle breakout, and then we had a nice little support here, massive candle to the downside, and then more rejection here for the past several days. And now we're pretty much right at it once again. We're also rejecting. So this kind of 180-ish level, very, very important. And if we do break above that, this level right up here is going to be the next important level to break above, which is going to be pretty much about that 183 to 185 level. So those are the levels I'll be looking at very closely for that horizontal resistances. And that to me, closing daily candles above those levels is more and more confidence to really get that potential pressure, and buying pressure up to about that 200 level, sometime, maybe even later this month. Obviously, a very real possibility. Don't forget, it is Tesla's best month in June, right? June is Tesla's best month. And so far, we've been doing absolutely nothing in June. We're up ever so slightly, technically, if you want to make, very, very obvious. Actually, we're pretty much even. Actually, I think we're break even on June. We haven't really went anywhere if you consider the closure of the Friday candle on the final day of May. But nonetheless, anyway, I'm digressing. That's kind of the idea there, right? So again, to make it simple, closing above the trend line, step number one. Step number two, closing above kind of 179 to 181, that rough level, closing a candle, a daily candle above that. And step number three, above 183 to 185. If we get any of those three, it increases the chances of 200, especially above that 183 to 185 step number three. Then it really increases the chances and the probabilities of, in my opinion, us going up here. Obviously, the flip is true as well, right? You can see here, obviously we had some bearish breakdowns, but we never closed a candle also below this kind of 173 level. I kept talking about 173, 173. We never closed the candle down here. But also, same idea, if we do close a candle below 173, a daily candle, that's probably not going to mean the fact that, like I said before, we're coming back down to about this kind of 168 to 170 level back here, which you can see has acted as a consolidation range also all the way over here, this kind of 170 range right here and 168 range, right? So that's the next level. Obviously below that, we come down to the level that supported us twice pretty strongly as well, both times, before we gap down below it, 160 to 163-ish. So those are still the main levels I'm looking at. Good try by that bulls today. I still don't think they've really, won just yet. But taking a look at the other indicators, right, you can see the MACD is still technically bearish on the daily chart. The stochastic is, the RSI is very neutral. Stochastic is flirting with a bullish crossover here, so that's pretty good. That can change pretty quickly if we gap down tomorrow, of course. It's not all good news just yet, but potentially flirting with a bullish crossover. But regardless of what happens, like I said many times, I personally still view Tesla to be in a pretty damn good position here overall on the weekly time frame, because we still have the bullish crossover on the MACD, and that's a really good one. That's a pretty powerful one for the weekly. It's just a matter of, like I said before, do we get that short-term sell-off down to potentially as low as 160 first, or do we from here are making our way up to 200? That is the question mark right now. And unfortunately today we got very close to making a decision, or at least heavily influencing a decision to the upside. But the bulls kind of let go towards the last part of the day. You can see here, right, towards the, last 10 minutes or so. the market and Tesla, was it the market? No, it wasn't even the market. It was just Tesla. Tesla really just by itself sort of sold off towards the last few minutes over here. You can see, which, you know, unfortunately made this less convincing of a close. But sometimes it just be like that. So again, that's the way I look at it. So let me know what you think down below, ladies and gentlemen. Again, also the 1 hour chart, like I talked about many times, with that overbought, oversold conditions. We are technically just barely flirting with the overbought conditions, even though we did get rejected by it, you know, as we went into it a couple of hours ago. But yeah, if this were to revert back to the mean, come back to retest the support levels back here, and also retest this volume profile over here on the 1 hour time frame, that would put us back to somewhere around the 175, 176-ish level, potentially as early as tomorrow. That would potentially be a viable opportunity, but again, it is a riskier thing because we can still have a breakdown to the downside. But that could be a potential bullish retest continuation upwards after that, moving into next week. We'll of course see how it plays out and how it actually shapes up to be. But with that being said and done, thanks so much for watching. Options flow, nothing really of note today, unfortunately. We had some option sells and some cash secured puts, of course, come in as well, but nothing really that caught my eye. I mean, the only thing that really caught my eye, I guess, is this 1.8 million for August. What is that? Is that August? Yeah, August 16th, 165 call. Option, it's a call sell, of course, so they're clearly thinking Tesla will be below 165 by August 16th. I don't know if it will. I don't see that personally. Maybe I could be wrong. We'll see, of course. Maybe this guy knows something I don't, or they're just simply willing to just take in that premium. We'll see. But that's the only one that really was of note. But it's a very, I don't know, something about it feels weird. I don't know. That's like an instinct thing. Something about it just feels weird to me. But yeah, anyway, I think tomorrow with the jobs data coming out, to see if we get that gap down, will be important to see if we get that, or maybe a gap up, and it'll gap us up above the trend line, and then we're good to go, in my opinion. So we'll see. But all in all, thanks for watching. See you for the next one. Peace.